Okay, so hello guys, welcome to my presentations. My name is Justin and my colleague Jiraya. We're going to present about the MyJump 2 applications. But first of all, I would like to say thank you to our professors, Mr. Daniel Lopez Plaza, to allow us to present or review these applications. Okay, introductions and the background. Okay, basically in the introductions and the background, we're going to talk about what is jump. Is it important in sports? What factors that determine the jump height? What the biomechanical variables that affect the jumping? Also, what are the phases of the jumping and many more. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so the first one we're going to talk about what is jump. Jumping is a complex human movement that requires complex motor coordinations between the upper and the lower limbs. So, and in the other words, we can describe jumping itself as a muscular effort, either into the air, vertically, or from one positions to another positions, or horizontally. And thus, jumps is important in sports. Okay, so is jumping important in sports? Okay, as we can see, the jumping ability is an important component for successful performance in individual and team sport, such as basketball, volleyball, and for the individual sports is jumping in athletics. So what can we take from this sentence is that we need to consider the specificity of the sports. Not every sport needs a really good jumping ability to do the sports. For example, we take into considers that golfers, they don't need jumping ability to be a successful performance in their sports. Okay, so here we can see that the vertical jump is one of the most prevalent acts performed by basketball players. Almost all the maneuvers performed by basketball players include jumping movement. So almost all the maneuvers in the basketball includes the jumping movements such as the blocking, shooting, defending, also attacking. Almost all the maneuvers is including the jumping. Also, we found the one scientific article that an average of 1.25 jumps per minute of the volleyball player it's also determined as the work rate profile. So in the work rate profile of the volleyball player, we found almost an average of 1.25 jumps per minute. Okay, here we have the data statistics. As I told you before, this was the research paper that we found out about the work rate profile by field positions of the athlete, and we can see the average of 1.25 jumps on 1.25 jumps per minute was determined as the work rate profile of an athlete. So depends on the positions also. We can see the difference of jumping profile or the work rate profile of the athlete, but the mean for the whole team is 1.25 jumps per minute. Also here we have the statistics data of LeBron James in NBA season 1920. Almost 1,200 jumping maneuvers he performed to make a points.
So I'm going to talk about the types of jump in sports performance. So there are two kinds of jumps in sports performance. One is the vertical jump, and the second one is the horizontal jump. Okay, so the vertical jump is classified into 5 kinds of jump. One is the counter movement jump. The second is squat jump. The third is Abalakov jump. The fourth one is the drop jump. And the last one is the repeated jump. So we go on to the horizontal jump. In horizontal jump, there's only one, which is the long jump. And if we see a scientific paper, the Judentum Medical Journal, it talks about the vertical jump, which has three kinds of. One is the squat jump, the counter movement jump, and the drop jump. But in the drop jump, we can do like three kinds of, which is in the height of 30 centimeter, 40 centimeter, and the 50 centimeter. Okay, why? Okay, now we talk about why do we measure our athletes jump? Why is it important that we have to do it? Is because in vertical jump, it is an important phase and a test which is done for every sportsman. It's important and predicts the performance of a lot of several kinds of sports which requires an explosive action. And in specific sports like the vertical jump is like widely performed and to see the lower limbs power. And vertical jump is important in sports where gaining height in advantage for the athlete in the sport.
Okay, so now how to conduct the vertical jump test. The test for the vertical jump will differ on what measuring device is being used. Until now, the force platform is the device that we'll consider as the gold standard or as the most accurate one. Okay, so the required equipment for the vertical jump test, we have the first one is the contact mat. The second one is the force platform. The third one is the high-speed video camera or software like My Jump 2 app. The fourth one is the accelerometer. And the fifth one is the infrared platform or the OptoGate technology that we have studied before. Okay, so now we're talking about the determinants of the factors or the factors that influence the vertical jump height. Okay, the first one, we have the genetics. Okay, so genetics is the factors that is out of your control. Or is it the only thing that you can do is to maintain or to maximize it or to optimize your genetics, such as the tendon length, the bone structures, and also the muscle fibers. And the second one, we have the jumping form. Jumping form, we can talk. It is always a good idea to perform the technique correctly to maximize our jump height. The third one, we're talking about the relative strength or the maximal muscular strength. It refers to the relative muscles that are used or that working for the vertical jumps. For example, as the quadriceps, as the hamstrings, calf, and also our gluteus maximus. Okay, the fourth one, we're talking about the rate of force development, which is it refers to the power, or we know as the strength times the speed. It is the speed at which force can be produced by our body. That's why it is so important for us to work on our explosive training if we want to maximize our vertical jump height, such as the power cleans and also the power snatches. And the fourth one, we're going to talk about, the fifth one, we're going to talk about the reactive strength or the plyometric strength. What is reactive strength or plyometric strength? It is the ability to switch rapidly from the eccentric exercise, the eccentric contractions to the concentric contractions. So when we're doing the squat jump, we're performing the eccentric exercise, which is like this 90 degrees. And when we're jumping high, we're performing the concentric exercise of the muscles. So if we have the good reactive strength of our plyometric strength, we can maximize more our vertical jump.
Okay, so there are 8 terms that govern an athlete's movement. So the first one is, so I'm going to just talk briefly about each one of them. The first one is force. Force is which governs, no, which is something which tends to cause a change in a state of motion in the body, and gravity also plays a role in the force. And we go on to the second point, gravity. So gravity is a magnetic force that constantly pulls all the physical bodies towards the center of the earth. Okay, the third point, center of mass. The center of mass is a point where all the mass of the body is in the center. And for example, if you put a ruler at the 6-inch mark, so that's the center of the scale. Okay, speed and velocity. Speed is the rate of motion of a body. Acceleration. Acceleration is the rate of change in velocity. Inertia. Inertia is the resistance to a change in different kinds of motion. Momentum. Momentum, everything that moves has momentum. And in order to generate a momentum, one must overcome inertia. And the last point is impulse. Impulse is a momentum change produced in a body, extently a change in direction. So here we see is that each point is connected to the another one. So like force is connected to gravity, and gravity to center of mass. So this is a very important kinds of movements and ways for an athlete.
Okay, so now we're talking about the muscle involvement when we're doing the vertical jump. Okay, so the main muscle used when you're performing vertical jumps are the hamstring, first one, and then our quadriceps, our gluteus maximus or our glutes, and our calf muscles. But don't forget that it also involves the muscles in your core, in your abdominal, and also your upper body for powers and stabilizations. Okay, here we have the muscle involvement, which is the fast twitch fibers or the type 2 muscles. We can see here in the force and time graphic. This one, the yellow one is the type 2 fibers, and the green one's the type 1 fibers or the slow contractions and the fast contractions. Okay, so here we can see in the type 2 fibers how fast the muscles can produce the force, but also it fatigue faster. The actions of the muscles of the type 2 fibers is fast and also explosive, but also it fatigue faster. But we can see here from the type 1 muscles or the slow twitch fibers, the force or the tensions it's lower, but it fatigue longer. So in the vertical jumps, we're more using our type 2 muscles fibers. So we can see here the different table, the different types of the muscles, the fast twitch, and also the slow twitch. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the jump phases, the vertical jump phases, or what phases that categorize the while we're jumping. The first one, we have the preparatory phase. Here we have the pictures. The preparatory phase is when there are the flexions of the hips and the knee when you're going down. The A is the preparatory phase, and then the second one we have the takeoff phase, or the extensions of the hip and the knee. So from the preparatory phase till the takeoff phase, there are counter movement actions that performed by the subject. Here this one is the takeoff phase, and the third one we have the flight phase. Okay, so the flight phase start as soon as the takeoff phase finish. So when the subject leaving the ground, here is it when the flight phase starts. And in the flight phase, where we can find our flight time also. And then in the landing phase, begins when the feet contact with the ground. So this is the example of the landing phase. We have over here the age graph.
Okay, so here we're going to see the preparatory phase of a vertical jump. So these are two diagrams showing the preparatory phase. So there are three important points in the body which is important while we're doing a vertical jump. One one is the hip, the second is the knee, and the third will be the ankle. So these 3 points are the most important points for a vertical jump, and it involves the flexion of the hip first. Then we come down to the knee flexion, and then the ankle is the dorsiflexion ankle, the dorsiflexion of the ankle which takes place. And then the important thing in the vertical jump is the muscle activity, which is an eccentric during this phase of jump, which is generally okay. And then we come to the takeoff phase. Again, in these two pictures, we see that vertical jump always begins with the hip, as we can see in the picture, with the hip extension, and then follows with the knee extension. And then we come to the ankle, which turns into a plantar flexion. And then in this, the muscle activity is primarily concentric than in the preparatory phase, which we had seen.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about the flight phase. Okay, in this flight phase is one of the most important phase that we need to understand, because many people that think when they're jumping height, but they don't know that they are really jumping high, or it's just because of their leg. So here we have the COM, or the center of mass of the bodies, continue upwards to reach the highest point as possible. And also the body joints continue to extend to the highest angle. As you can see in these photos, my hand and all my joints, my shoulder and my hands joints, extend as high as possible to touch upward. And also this flight phase finish when the toe touch the ground. Okay, see in the graph, we can see that here, the center of mass displacement and the center of mass height when we're takeoff. So we can see over here, the total jump height is the center of mass displacement in flight and our center of mass height when we're takeoff. So many people I saw in the videos, and they're jumping boxes, they bend their knee and they think they are jumping high, but actually the center of mass is just the same. They're just bending their knee and bending their leg to reach the highest point as possible. But actually, if we want to calculate our jump height, we need to consider our center of mass when we're takeoff, with the displacement with the center of mass, the highest point when we're in the flight phase. Okay, so now we're here talking about the landing phase, which is the last phase of the vertical jump movement. So here, the key points that we take from the landing phase is that the eccentric actions of the muscle performed due to absorb the impact. So when we're landing, we're performing the eccentric actions of the muscle. So when we're jumping high, we're performing the concentric because our muscle is shortening. But when we jump down, we're performing the eccentric, or when our muscle is lengthening. Also, we lower the center of mass. It's lower our center of mass than the takeoff phase because we're going down to absorb the impact. Okay, so here we have the joint and the movement of the joint. So the hip joint, we're performing the flexion movement. The ankle, we're performing dorsiflexions, not the plantar flexions. Here we can see the dorsiflexions of the ankle. The knee also, we're performing the flexions of the knee. The shoulder, it should be extended.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about two types of vertical jumps. So in vertical jump, we could do two ways, which one is without the arm movement, and one is with the arm movement. So as we see in this counter movement jumps, we have seen that mostly the coaches and the researchers use this technique or this method indirectly for to calculate the lower limbs. And but in for example, if you see in the isokinetic test, we do it directly for the lower limbs, but in this is indirect. So this is so according to the researchers, and in the research paper it says that it increases 10% of your jump height with when you use your arms, as we see over here down, which is said according to the research papers. And so this is the method of doing a counter movement jump, the methods of it. So as we see in these pictures, so first the man is standing straight up on a stool, and then which his feet is contacted with the stool. And then on the second one, we see that he is being in a eccentric position over here, and then his hands on the hip, and the trunk is straight, upright position, and the position. So he's performing a 90 angle of a counter movement jump, as we can see over here. And then we go ahead while he's jumping. His ankle and his knee, it flexes, and when it takes off, it creates a 180-degree angle. And then while he's in the air, he has an upright straight position, and then landing with his feet hyperextended, as we could see over here. And we see in this this research, this is the research of different players from different countries, players of different sports in different countries, of their counter movement jumps in centimeter.
Okay, so now we're going to the next modalities of the vertical jump test. We're going to talk about the Abalakov jump, or many people say the counter movement jumps with hands or with free arms. Okay, so basically in this jump test, the execution is the same as the counter movement jump without the hands, but athlete will have to increase the thrust capacity by means swinging the arms or by using the arms. Okay, so here we have the example of me doing the jump with the hands. And now we're going to talk about the squat jump. Okay, in the squat jump, the subject must perform the test without making any downward counter movement. and without using the arms. Okay, so basically you start this jump in the 90 degrees positions, basic like this, and then you start jump. So there's no counter movement actions performed in this jumping. Okay, so the method for performing the squat jumps, as we know, the first one, the sole of the foot in the contact with in the platform, if you're using the contact mat of the for the first platform, and then the knee angle start at the 90 degrees, more or less 90 degrees, but 90 degrees is the best angle to jump. And also hands on hips and straight trunk, sorry. And then the knee angle when takeoff should be 180 degrees, or we extend the knee and we extend also our joints to reach upward as high as possible. And also we drop with the hyperextended feet. Okay, so here we have the data of the and the example of the squat jump. Here we have in these pictures we saw start in the 90 degrees and then jump and then land. Also, what are the predominance of the muscle fibers over here? We can see that the type 2 muscle fibers, the athlete who has the type 2 muscle fibers, it tends to jump higher than the athlete who has more type 1 fibers or the slow twitch fibers. This research paper we found from Bosco 1994, and also here we have the squat jump reference of the male athlete from Bosco with different sports, and also of course with different athlete and their data with the squat jump height.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the drop jump. So what is drop jump? A drop jump is a counter movement drop jump, which involves a large downwards movement during the ground contacted phase. Is when we jump from the stool or from a high place, and then the contrast of the jump, the after jump, is the bounce drop jump, which seeks immediately a reverse downwards velocity on landing to minimize ground contact time. So I will actually explain you more what is a bounce drop jump and a drop jump in the further slides. But we see in this diagram over here, it's like when we take the jump, it's a drop jump. And then when we touch the floor and then we come up, which is called the bounce drop jump. When we touch and then we go up, it's the bounce, the bounce. Okay. So as we see in this, as I've taken all these wordings from this research paper, it says a drop jump is commonly used as a fast, short strengthening cycle polymetric exercise. It is amongst the strength and conditioning coach. So this kind of this drop jump is mostly used for athletes, for track and field, for the short strengthening cycle. And a drop jump is also used as a readiness to train monitoring tool and for injury risk screening purposes. So as we can see videos of the player, of the improvement and stuff. And you can see the research paper over here, which I have taken it from, the drop jump, a technical model for scientific application. And here in this another diagram is the different kinds of phases, the way how you take the drop jump, because it's specifically first with the it's with one leg, we go first down, and then we have a contact with both the legs, and then we bounce back. I'll explain you that. And so these are the key points and the common errors and the corrective causes of all this, of this jump. Okay, so as I told you before, so we see here, so there are like two drop jumps in a drop jump. So the two drop jump techniques are defined in peer-reviewed literature is the bounce drop jump and the counter movement, drop jump. So what is a bounce drop jump? The bounce jump, by contrast, the bounce drop jump seeks to immediately reverse downwards velocity on landing to minimize ground contact time. So it's what actually is when we go down, when we go down is, for example, if we hit a ball on the ground, it reverts back to us with a much more pace, with a much more speed, because it's having a contact with the floor, and that's the force which is reverting back. So that's when we jump up, automatically. And the drop jump is the counter movement drop jump, involves a large downward movement due to gravity, of course, and during the ground contrast phase. And I took all these words from the same research paper, as we can see over here on the right hand side. Okay. What is horizontal jump? We can call horizontal jump as a long jump too, or we can say a long jump is a horizontal jump. Okay, the jumps. So over here we have three kinds of horizontal jump, but three kinds of jump. So the jump predominantly consists of a horizontal jump, as I said, so as to get a longest distance jump. So we see in this first one, the first one says the long jump or horizontal jump without counter movement and without swinging of the arms. So it's when we are standing with our arms on our hip and in a 90-degree angle, in a eccentric phase, and then we take a jump without a counter movement. And then in the second one, we see that the long jump or the horizontal jump with counter movement and without swinging the arms. So it's when we are doing a counter movement, but without swinging the arms. So you're standing straight, keeping your arms on your hip, and then doing a counter movement, but without swinging the arms, and we take a jump horizontally. And in the third one, the last one, it says the long jump or the horizontal jump with counter movement and swinging of the arm. So it's like a counter movement and with the arm. So it is said that we have a longer jump while we are doing the counter movement with the arms, because it's helping us to take a long jump.
Okay, so now enough with the theoretical thing about the jumping, the vertical jumps, the squat jump, counter movement jumps, horizontal jumps, and many things. I know it's uncomplicated, but here we're going to talk the most simple way how can we measure our jump. Not just simple, but also reliable, valid, and scientifically approved. Okay, so we're proudly present the MyJump applications. So what is MyJump 2 applications? Okay, so MyJump is the first applications that scientifically approved, developed to measure your jump height with a great designs and validated by sports scientists. Okay, MyJump is as reliable as the $10,000 Force platform, or as we know, Force platform is the gold standard. But is it time consuming? And is it reliable? Is it expensive? And is it valid? I know that these questions will be questioning you when you know that how come within the applications we know our jump height and everything. Okay, so this MyJump app 2, what is this MyJump app 2? MyJump app 2 is an application that are very easy to use. You just need to record your jumps or the jumps of your athlete with the slow video camera that will be provided by the applications, and it will calculate your jump height, your force, velocity, power, and many more. So here we found the scientific paper about the validity and reliability of an iPhone app for measuring the vertical jump performance of an athlete. And we can see here the results that they are in the same correlations between the MyJump app and the Force platform of the results of the vertical jump of the athlete. Also here I put some of the review from many sports scientists. For example, here we have the Pierre Samostino, the PhD of sports scientist, University of Savoy, and also Jean-Benoit Morin, the PhD of sports scientist, University of Nice.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about this app, Jump App 2, or this app which can be used on an iOS and an Android too. So these are the devices. So it can be used on an iPhone or a Samsung or any other phone which has Android, and so it is one of the best results to be obtained on a slow motion device, which is mostly an iPhone, but I guess now Samsung also too has it, and but it has the cost of $9.99. But I guess if we really need it, we could afford this and not have a problem. Of course, because we need it. And okay, so now I'll go into a little bit detail about this app which we are using. So in this, as we can see on the picture over here, so this is the main page of the MyJump app 2, which has specifically and with big bold words written on the first page, which has like the vertical jump, horizontal jump, the force velocity profile, and the asymmetry test. Okay, so what are the main features exactly about this app? So it has an accurate measurement of the velocity jump. It calculates the force velocity profile using a groundbreaking summarization method. Okay, and records the video up to 250 fps, and as important as you want your camera roll. So it helps us with the graphics and stuff. Okay, there are varieties of jump tests in this app. We have multi-users, more than 2 people can use this app. We even have a history on this, so that when we take out a video, for example, a couple of months back, it saves us to a history, and then we can go back to our videos that we had taken out, the test, and then check our performance, if we are improving or decreasing on our performance. And then we have the facility of even sharing and exporting this data to other phones, as we have put this up on YouTube for us to see. So these are the different kinds of main features which this app has, and I guess this app mostly has all the kinds of features that we are expecting and which we are wanting for our professional athlete.
Okay, so from MyJump applications, what can we measure, or what data can we access, or what data does the MyJump applications give to us? Okay, so MyJump applications calculates the height of our jumps, also the flight times, or the times that we spend in the air while we're jumping, also the velocity when we're jumping, the force and the power of our vertical jumps. Also, it gives you the contact time, and the vertical stiffness and reactive strength index of your drop jumps. Okay, here, so this is the list of the data that you will get when you're doing your jumping. after you're doing your jumping, I mean. And also, okay, how to use the applications. Okay, so basically, these MyJump applications is using the high-speed camera from your device to record the slow motion videos of your jumping. Then you just need to select the takeoff and also the contact times. And also MyJump 2 will give you a reliable and a valid jump height, just like the Force platform do and the infrared platform do. So here we have the tutorials that you will see now, how to enter or to access first time the MyJump applications too.
Okay, so from this, we need to log in to the MyJump application first, and then we will create our team. And also, don't forget after that, we're going to select which athlete are we going to do the test. Select the athlete, and all the types of jumps will be provided to you.
Okay, now for the single jump test, or how can we measure our vertical jump test using MyJump applications too. Okay, so for the single jump test, it includes the counter movement jumps, the squat jumps, the counter movement jumps of the free arms. Okay, so the guidelines. The first thing that you need to do, you need to record the feet of the athlete from the front and use the slider to navigate through the video and press the arrows to move frame by frame. So you can move frame by frame, so it will make you easier to put and give you more accuracy when the takeoff phase or when is the feet of the subject contact again with the ground. Okay, and after that, select the takeoff phase in the first frame in which no foot touches the ground. So after the foot, the first frame after the foot leaving the ground, you need to press the takeoff. And then after that, select the landing in the first frame, which at least 1 feet contact the ground. So as soon as the feet contact the ground, we choose the landing, and then after that, we're going to have our results.
Okay, so this is the example of how we measure the counter movement jump. So here we have Jiraiya as a subject doing the counter movement jump. As we can see that as soon as the subject reach their takeoff phase, we're going to press the takeoff, and after that, as soon as he reaches the landing phase, we're going to press the landing, and don't forget to enter the zero load because he's not carrying a load, and MyJump app will give you the value and also your results.
Now we're going to see how do we use this app actually with an athlete. But as you have seen that we have talked about the different kinds of jumps and even the different kinds of and the techniques which are used in the specific jumps. But these are some of the rules which we'll be needing and have to do it while we are recording an athlete. So let's see the horizontal jump test. So the guidelines, about the using of the app. So first is to record the jump from the side. We should always remember having space for the athlete and equal distance of the phone while recording from the athlete. Tap on the screen and tap on the screen. Place the marker on top of the head first, and then on the toe. On the toe. On the toe, and then while we're taking off, you again put the arrow on the toe, and then while we are landing, then on the heel, so that's the time when we check the distance and the height while we're jumping. You can also zoom into the features into the features to check and to put the dot specifically. It will guide you and help you how to do it too.
Okay, so here is the example of Jiraiya doing the horizontal test. So first we entered the subject height, which is Jiraiya's 172 centimeters. And then we put one point on his head and 1 point on his heel or the top of his toe, in front of his toe. After putting it accurately, and then we wait until we press next. We wait until his takeoff, and then the moment he's going to take off, we're going to put one mark on in front of his foot. And then while he's jumping, we're going to put the second mark as soon as the subject reaches the ground, behind his heel. And then after that, we're going to press the landing. Then next, and they're going to give the results of your horizontal jump test.
And then we come to the drop jump. So all these jumps which we are doing in the app is basically all similar to one another. So in this also record the feet from the front. So while we're doing the drop jump from the front, so that we can have the height of the box and the jump, and then use the side, use the slider to navigate through the video and press the arrow to move frame by frame for better accuracy. So like on the app, when we see the video, we can show, we tap the right, so that we can go specifically when we are touching or when we are landing or when we are jumping, so that will help us more specifically. Select the takeoff in the first frame in which no foot touches the ground. Select the landing in the first frame in which at least 1 foot contacts the ground. Then enter the height of the box and you will get your result. So we even have to put the height of the box to know that from which height are we jumping, as I had talked in the previous slides, the centimeters. Okay.
Okay, so here's the example of the drop jump test by Jiraiya. So we could see he's start the jump, contact landing with left foot. So what can we do first? We're going to, as soon as his left foot touch the ground, we're going to press the contact. And then after that, as soon as he leaving the ground, we're going to press the takeoff. And wait until as soon he reaches the ground again, we're going to press the landing. And don't forget to insert the height of the box and you will get the results.
Next, so is isometry test. Okay, so the guidelines about this test: the drop from the box, land and jump with the right leg. Use the slider to navigate through the video and press the arrow to move the frame to frame for better accuracy. As I told you, each of these tests are all similar to each other in this app. So select the takeoff from the first frame which no foot touches the ground. Select landing in the first frame in which at least 1 foot contacts the ground again. Then repeat procedure with your left leg and then you will get the accurate score. Okay, so this is all what we have done said before already.
Okay, so here we have the Jiraiya doing the asymmetry test. So first start with the left foot. We're going to see the moment when he's landing. We're going to press the landing. And then the moment he take off with his left foot, we're going to press. And the moment he landing again. And then we're going to repeat this process with the right foot now. Okay, we're going to see the moment his right foot land. We're going to press the landing or the contact. And then when he's take off, the moment he take off, and also the moment he landing. And after that, My Jump app will give you the results after you insert the height of the drop jump box.
But we're just going through it once again. And then we come to the repeated jump. So in the repeated jump test, we are allowed to measure the jump height and the contact time of several continuous jumps. So we continuously keep jumping without a stop in this. You need to do as many as vertical jump as possible in 15 seconds. So we, as I said, we just keep jumping till the time finishes, the 15 seconds. And then we calculate it. It automatically calculates.
Okay, here we have the examples of the repeated jump test for 15 seconds from the subject. So basically the process how to access your repeated jump test is the same. You just have to find the contact times and also the takeoff phase from the subject and also the landing phase or the contact times after the takeoff phase. But you need to do it for every single jump in 15 seconds. And after that, they will give you the results for every jump so you can compare and see what happens with your jump every time you did it.
Okay, now we're talking about the force velocity profile. Okay, so what is force velocity profile actually? The force velocity profile is an incremental test with 4 loads to test your force, power, and velocity capabilities of your lower limbs. Okay, so you just need to perform 2 to 5 or 6 jumps with different kind of loads, depending on your levels of your athletes. If you are an experienced athlete, you can start with the first one with 0 loads, and then you increase with 20, 40, 60, until 80% of your body weight. And also, if you are not that experienced of athlete, your load increments will be 0, 10%, 20%, 40%, until 60% of your body weight. So here we have the videos, if you can press the link. Okay, so how to export data from My Jump app to another provider. Okay, so My Jump app provide a really easy and a simple way for you to export your data to an Excel, numbers, Google Drives, and many more. And one interesting more that you can share your results of your jumps with your friends via Twitter, Facebook, and many more. So here we have the tutorial of how can you export your data from My Jump to app to the Excel drive. Okay, here we have the example of the data that have been exported from the My Jump app to the Excel data sheets. Here we have 2 athletes in the same team from Justin and Jiraiya, and we have the body weight, the distance, the jump type, the height, loads, velocity, power, and many more.
Okay, here we have the example of how can we export our data from the MyJump app to the documents. So we just have to press the export data, and then we choose which one we're going to want to export the data, and then press, and then they will give us directly the results. You can email it to your phone, and also you can share it and compare with your friends.
Okay, so thank you guys for listening to our presentations. I hope you guys like it. And also we make some questions for you. First one, you can read it by yourself. Okay, and the reference or the bibliography that we took. Okay. See you guys. Thank you for watching.